Hi, everyone, and welcome to Education 438, teaching reading and writing in the content area. I'm here with a very, very short video for you all that's going to serve as your Day 14 overview. So we are leaning towards the end of our third week, which is crazy to me. And I want to introduce today's topics, objectives, and some essential questions for you to consider as you read. So, we are switching gears a little bit today. We have spent a lot of time talking about academic language development. We've spent time talking about the importance of classroom talk and discussion, whether that's small group or whole group. We've talked about oral language and vocabulary development. We have spent some time looking at the benefits of multimodal instruction. And then earlier this week, we've really spent time thinking about close reading as an instructional strategy. So, for the rest of this course, in terms of my assigned reading for you, we are turning to writing. And writing is a form of instruction that I think a lot of new teachers struggle with. I know I did. Writing to me has always been kind of intuitive. And so I had a really hard time my first years as a teacher figuring out how to explicitly break down writing skills for my students and teach it to them well. So I kind of wish that I had this book back when I first started teaching. And I have been on the hunt for a couple of years for a book that can serve as kind of a great text, a great toolbox for writing strategies. And I found this one. So, The Writing Revolution 2.0 is the most contemporary of the texts we read in this course. It was published about 2 years ago. So, it's very up to date in terms of strategies for teaching writing. And one of the things that I like about this text is it very much is a guidebook, it's a manual. This is not really what I would call a theoretical book or a theory kind of focused book. This is more practical. So, this is all or everything in this book is really focused on practical strategies for writing that you can bring into your classroom. And it's written for any level and any content. So I hope that you enjoy it. Like I said, I don't really think it's fascinating, but I do think it is very practical. And I think that that is important in a literacy focused class. So let's talk about this video. Really quick, I'm going to go over Day 14 topics and objectives. I'll spend some time on essential questions for today's reading, and then I'll end with some brief reminders. And that includes, of course, your attendance participation grade instructions for today. So today we are going to be talking about what the writing revolution method is. So the Hockman method and the 6 writing revolution principles of writing instruction. I think these principles are very useful. I'm excited to hear what you think about this text and this particular approach towards writing in the next couple days and really into next week as well. Using sentence instruction to build foundational writing skills. Sentence expansion activities for understanding, processing, and writing about new information or complex content. And then note taking for foundational knowledge and explicit instruction. You'll notice that just like it has been for the first 3 weeks of our class, explicit instruction is going to continue to be huge as we move into talking about writing. And then in the back of your mind, please keep working towards your inquiry projects. You've already created them at this point, or maybe you're fine-tuning them. You've already identified those reliable sources. So now what are you going to do next? Starting that writing process for the inquiry project is really key because you know that those are due tomorrow night. Okay, learning objectives. You will familiarize yourself with the principles of the writing revolution, the Hockman method of writing instruction, through reading and annotating the introduction to this text. You will understand the importance of foundational sentence instruction through learning explicit activities to strengthen sentence formation. You'll examine sentence expansion strategies and note-taking strategies to help students think analytically about text content and to help them think about how to create written responses to deepen text comprehension. And then finally, as I mentioned, you'll continue to work towards your inquiry projects and presentations. You all are probably very different stages of this right now, but just keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk essential questions. So the first question that I really want you to consider as you're engaging with today's reading is why and how? Okay, why is teaching writing explicitly important and how do we do that? How do we teach writing in a sequence of logical steps that help our students to become clear, coherent, confident writers? A lot of times, I think that we assume that students just know how to write, or they have been taught how to write, or that they've been taught how to write effectively. And we never want to assume that, right? So our goal is to think about how we teach writing very explicitly and how we do it logically as well. What is the purpose of the Hockman method? What are its principles? So on Zoom on Tuesday, we talked about how close reading differs from other reading strategies. This is going to be the same. I want you to think about how the Hockman method proposed here differs from other approaches to writing in the classroom. Why is focusing on sentence level writing instruction so essential? So, I think when we think about teaching sentences, we sometimes associate with that work happening in the primary grades or even at the middle school level. But we have to remember that even at the secondary level, it's really important to start micro, right? To start with that sentence level writing and build from there. How do sentence expansion and note-taking activities help students think analytically about the content they're learning? We know that we are able to learn content better when we write about content. So the authors of this text are going to give us a lot of strategies to start small. Things like sentence level writing instruction, things like sentence expansion, a bunch of note-taking activities that help us get our students to think deeper about the content. This also is going to help them craft written responses that reflect that deeper, that critical thinking. So those are what I want you to keep in mind for today as you're doing some reading. And that brings me to my attendance participation grade directions for today. This is going to be a very straightforward one, but it's also one that I think requires a little bit of vulnerability on your part. So on this video, go ahead and comment with your name as you always do. And then I want you to briefly discuss two things. A, what are you excited about when it comes to writing instruction? And B, what are you worried about? Okay. I had a lot of worries, a lot of fears for teaching that surrounded the teaching of writing when I stepped into teaching. So I want you to be vulnerable in sharing some of those worries or insecurities or kind of general fears about teaching writing. And that's it. So, reminders for today, other than your attendance participation grade, remember that unlike your reflections, which were due Thursday nights, I'm giving you that extra day for your inquiry project. So they are due tomorrow night by midnight. Also, remember that you will present these inquiry projects at our final Zoom meeting next Tuesday. So that is all I have for you today. Looking forward to your responses to my questions about writing instruction. And I will be back tomorrow with a pretty intense breakdown video of stage 3 of your unit plans. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great day. And yes, like I said, I'll be back with another video tomorrow.